You're an average college student going about your daily life when one day you receive a mysterious package with no return address. Inside is $1 million and a note informing you that you are one of two players to receive a package like this. The note encourages you to obtain the other player's money by any means you deem necessary. At the end of the round, you must return the $1 million allotted to you, but any surplus that you manage to cheat out of the other player is yours to keep, with the loser being the one forced to pay up the deficit. You are now a contestant in the liar game. What would you do? This is the opening scene of the manga Liar Game by Kaitani Shinobu. It is a psychological thriller manga first published in February of 2005 and running until January of 2015. Psychological mangas with an emphasis on gambling and mind games is something that Kaitani specializes in, with another popular manga of his, 1 Ounce, revolving around the mind games of a master manipulator and gambler who joins a baseball team and arranges himself an unusual contract with the team's greedy owner. This environment of high-stakes gambling and master manipulation is the exact situation the protagonist, now Kanzaki, finds herself in. She's received this invitation to the liar game, but the twist is that she's honest to a fault and can't even conceive of lying or cheating people out of money. She quickly resolves that she'll simply return the money in full at the end of the round and be done with this, but then realizes that there is one variable unaccounted for: the other player. What if they attempt to steal her money? Then she'll be saddled with the debt and be forced to continue in the game. Not to worry though, because the company sends her a card informing her of who the other player is, and it turns out to be her trusted childhood teacher. She meets up with him, he offers to keep her $1 million secure in his personal safe, and surely he wouldn't trick now, right? You're probably thinking this game is already done for, that now is just going to continue to be duped out of her money and taken advantage of by various conniving players. It's easy to deride her actions and think she was stupidly naive for ever trusting anyone to have good intentions when millions of dollars are involved. But putting yourself in her position, her concerns with keeping the money safe from other players is a valid one, and she has no reason to believe her teacher wouldn't be thinking the same exact thing as her, that he would also simply return the money in full at the end of the round and be done with it. After all, stealing Now's money would mean saddling her with $1 million of debt, and Now couldn't stomach doing this to anyone, much less someone she knew from childhood. This line of thinking may seem foolish, but with this simple thinking, Now has already outsmarted the game. The liar game depends on people succumbing to their most base desires and greed, and putting their well-being over others. She was tricked out of her money because her teacher gives in to these desires. But if he hadn't, they both would have been debt-free going into the second round of the game. That's because throughout the different kinds of mind games and challenges that are put forward in the liar game tournament, what lies at the core of all of them is the same principle: the prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma doesn't refer to any real situation, but to a decision-making theory to explain why two rational people would act against their own interests and refuse to work with one another. It's usually explained like this. You and your friend are caught in the middle of a crime. The detective puts you both in separate cells to question you. In the middle of the interrogation, the detective presents you with a deal. If you confess to the crime and rat out your friend will be locked up for 3 years, and you'll only be locked up for 2. What if I say nothing, you ask? If neither of you rat each other out, you'll both get 1 year. But I'm going to offer the same deal to your friend. And if he rats you out, you get 3 and he gets 2. If you both rat each other out, you each get 3 years. It seems like an easy decision to you. You trust your friend. Why would you rat him out? But what if it was a stranger? What's the right option for you? You could suck it up and stay quiet, but then you risk being the sucker. You could be proactive and sell out your partner, but then the least possible sentence you could get is 2 years. And that's assuming your partner wasn't thinking the same exact thing. This dilemma is at the heart of almost every game played in Liar Game. Strangers participate in high-risk, high-reward challenges under the veneer of winning millions of dollars, but mostly to avoid the worst possible outcome, which is being saddled with an unpayable debt. It keeps the players in a near constant state of tension where they can never really trust one another and never really let their guard down. Back to Now, who realizes that she gave away the whole 1 million and is technically losing. Unless she steals the money back, she'll be indebted to the mysterious Liar Game Tournament office for an amount of money she can't possibly hope to pay back. Once again, Now is innocent to a fault, but she recognizes that she can't possibly hope to do this on her own. Then, she gets news that an infamous con man is being released from prison soon. She resolves to ask him for help in the game. Enter Akiyama. He's an anti-capitalist king who went to jail because he infiltrated an infamous MLM, or pyramid scheme, and brought the whole company down from the inside. He initially refuses to help Now, but Akiyama is eventually won over and admits defeat, agreeing to help her in the tournament. What ensues is a series of intense mind games and psychological manipulation as they continue through the rounds of the Liar Game tournament. They meet a recurring cast of colorful characters, including my personal favorite, Fukunaga Yuji, a trans woman who reminds me a lot of Tsunade from Naruto. She's super smart, loves money, and is a 5th degree black belt. I will say that some aspects of her gender identity aren't handled the best. Trans woman is often played as a joke in media with detrimental real-life consequences, which I urge you to look up. The way she identifies herself has also been misinterpreted a lot, as a lot of people read manga from random translators who often take a lot of liberties with the text. Translators thus translated the suffix that Now commonly uses to refer to Fukunaga, san, which is gender neutral, as he, him gendered pronouns. However, in a character interview within one of the chapters of the manga, Fukunaga explicitly says that she is a woman. So, Fukunaga is a woman, and she's the best. The games themselves are really complicated, and a lot of the manga is just walls of text trying to explain the rules of the convoluted games to you. But you can usually pick up the way they're supposed to go as you read, except for the Smugglers game, which I still have no clue how they won. So if you understood that, please explain it to me like I'm a tiny baby, because my brain breaks every time I think about that round. But the best part of the manga, in my opinion, is Now's growth through the series. Her ideology at its core is that if you give people the chance to be good, they'll take it. Thus, everyone is worth being saved. Typically in stories like this, the main character with an ideology that's this idealistic gets beaten down by circumstances and antagonists until they're nothing but a cynical, hardened husk of who they used to be. But throughout the story, though Now does grow and get stronger, she never strays from this core belief, and it in fact becomes one of her greatest strengths in the game. That's not to say that she remains the same naive girl who was so easily duped at the beginning, but rather, she learns when it is best to trust others and when it is good to doubt them. And she learns this from Akiyama. If Now believes in the inherent goodness of others to a fault, Akiyama represents the opposite ideology. He doesn't trust anyone really, only collaborating with others when he has a plan B and C and D and E and F all in place in case they choose to betray him. He helps Now to grow when he tells her not to feel guilty that she is beginning to doubt people's intentions, and instead tells her that actually the greater mistake would be indifference toward others altogether. Apathy, he says, is the greatest harm you could inflict on another human being. But through his games with Now, he too begins to understand that this game is not one that can be won alone. You have to work with others, and there isn't always a failsafe if others betray you. You just have to trust that they won't. And in this is actually a possible solution to the seemingly paradoxical prisoner's dilemma, called the Iterated prisoner's dilemma. It is an extension of the original scenario, except one that's repeated over and over by the same participants. The simple solution that is presented is repetition. In the original prisoner's dilemma problem, betrayal is a more viable option because you never have to face the other prisoner again. But what if the scenario is repeated and you eventually realize that you have an incentive to work with the other person rather than sell each other out? Because at the end of the day, you have a common enemy. In Liar Game, it's the Liar Game tournament officials. In The Prisoner's Dilemma, it's the police state. As for the ending of the manga and the whole big reveal about the Liar Game tournament, I don't know if I would consider this a spoiler, but if you would, if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, I would click off right here after you like and subscribe, of course. I personally kind of thought it was a little disappointing, a bit of a letdown, but the most fun is on the way there, honestly. I'll regularly reread the chapters leading up to the final because it's just so much fun to watch them puzzle through all of the strategies and the tournaments and stuff. If you get mad about the ending, don't come crying to me about it because I didn't like it either. So, but yeah, despite the kind of lackluster ending, I would still highly recommend it. If you like anime and TV shows and stuff, I would highly recommend subscribing because me too. And also like the video because that's good for the algorithm, and comment because, especially if you've read it, because I love talking to other people who have read Liar's Game. I would love to talk to you after you've read it and you come back to this video to comment about it. All of that. So yeah, thanks for watching.